All right, hey. Clock on the wall says it's noon Mountain Time. Let's get started. Hello, everybody. My name is Mike Hanbury. I'm Director of Business Development, Marketing and Business Development here at Webolutions. It's my pleasure to have you with us today. Thank you for joining us for what to expect when creating an effective website. I am joined today by my colleague, Jack Schneider. Jack, want to poke here and say hi?
Hey, everybody.
There's Jack. Hey, Jack's going to help me out with some facilitation. If you've got questions during the webinar, please use the chat function to send them in, and Jack will get those to me. And we do have I think we've, as is my affliction, of crammed 10 pounds of stuff into a 5-pound bag here, so we will move swiftly and deliberately through a lot of information. And we will pause at a couple of predetermined places in the presentation to take your questions and respond to them. So please use the chat function to send those in, and Jack will forward them over to me. Hello to everybody, and a special hello out there to our friends in the church furniture business. Thanks for joining us. Good to have you with us today. I want to start today by asking you to take a little thought, and I'm going to launch this poll here. And it simply asks this, of all the ways you could be spending your valuable time today, why have you joined this particular webinar about creating an effective website? You might be just here to gather some information. You might be very new, right? Maybe, well, we're brand new, we're starting up. We don't have a website yet, which is a common thing, of course. A website not performing to our expectations. That's a broad category, could mean a lot of things. It's been a while since we updated our website. That's another one that could be, and that is also a broad category. Or hey, we just finally, at long last, got the budget approval that we needed to proceed. So think about that if you would, and pick whatever is the closest or most appropriate option for you, whichever describes you most. If I keep the poll open, can I go through the slides? Okay, good. I'm just going to leave that open while you all think about it, and just move. I promise to deliberate. I promise to move deliberately. So let's do it. A little bit about Webolutions while you're thinking about those things. We are a 26-year-old company in a 26-year-old industry. The things that I share with you are based on the interactions that I, as the business development officer here at Webolutions, have interactions with people all day, every day, and on working for a company that has built created more than 2,000 websites over our 26 years. These are not things we read in a book. These are things that we have put into practice and learned by doing. So thank you for taking that into account. Some of our accolades there. And the most important thing on that page might be our purpose is to empower passionate people to thrive. Everything we do is based upon that and values that we've defined. And my pleasure to have that conversation with you. And because you are a passionate person and you're here to be empowered, it's my pleasure to have you with us today. Thank you for joining us. We always offer a free website analysis. This is available to you at any time. Here's the stuff that we'll do. You will end up talking to somebody who looks, talks, and quacks exactly like me in all probability. So there are a few ways to do this, and this is always included. Jack's going to send a follow-up email after the broadcast with a link back to the recording and a few other things, and this is always available to you. No obligation, no charge. It's my pleasure, and I love having these conversations. And my name is Mike Hanbury. I used to do other stuff, but I hardly remember what it was. I've been in market for a while. I recently restarted teaching strategic brand management at the University of Denver, my alma mater, and I have been with the Herbie Flub, my job title, at the beginning of this, because I had a different job title for the first 5 years that I worked here. I ran the online marketing department, so a lot of exposure, and I hope you join us next month. A lot of the stuff that we talk about today is going to bring us to the launch of the website, and then what, right? How do we get the website to perform and help us achieve our goals? A lot of that is in terms of providing unexpected little surprises, perhaps, and good ones, and engaging your audience. And that comes in many forms as well. And so please set your calendars and join us next month, Wednesday, February 26, 2020, noon to 1 Mountain Time, same bat channel. All right, here's what we're going to do today. We are going to move through a bunch of stuff. We are going to talk about common mistakes that I need you to avoid, all right, if you're going to have an effective website. There are not all companies in our industry, not all are created equal, not all of them look at things the same way, and some of them have practices and engagement practices which are either just flat bad or a little old. We will address those and walk you through those, and I hope that's helpful. And then we're going to take all the stuff that you shouldn't do, and we're going to turn it right around and say, here's how it's good, right? Here's how we make it effective. And we're going to take those things and turn them upside down kind of thing, and just say, here is how you walk through creating an effective website. A couple of testimonials over there on the right, and I included those because when you are done with your website creation experience, these are the kind of things that you're going to want to look back and say, this was the experience that we had, all right? That we had a partner who led us through these things, and and when you say effective websites, those are the kind of things that the mindset shifts, perhaps that a professional partner, a responsible partner, will lead you through. Let's go right into what are some common mistakes to avoid. Get your popcorn ready. Here we go. All right, here's what I see a lot of. We silo the website. The website is this thing over here, and we got branding over here, and we got SEO over here, and we got our messaging over here, and we got our trade show booth over here, and. No, the website is a part of your marketing and communications continuum. It is one of the ways that people see you. It might be, for many of you, the first and most important way and most impactful way that people see you. And so to be effective, your website is not a thing that exists outside of. It is an integral part of your marketing and communications portfolio. Sometimes we get, okay, we're going to build the website, and then we're going to worry about SEO. Backwards, all right? And there are a lot of other theories on this, and the difference between people who say, I want to launch your website and then worry about SEO are either doing one of two things. One, they're book smart, not street smart. That could be, and it's earnest. And others is it makes it easier for me to sell you the website because it reduces your upfront cost and decreases a little bit the amount of time, just a little bit, that it takes to create your website on the upfront. But then once you launch that website without SEO considerations baked into it, it costs you money every single day after that. So please have that conversation with us before you do that. And brand strategy, we're going to build our website, and then we're going to worry about our brand strategy. No, you build your brand strategy. This is who we are. This is what we stand for. This is how we communicate. And then you build your website and your call scripts and your trade shows and your advertisements and on top of that, so that they are all clear and consistent, and one thing is as effective as they all are, okay? I hope that's clear. Disconnecting the website from the hosting and maintenance plan. Here's what I mean by that. When we design and create websites, we are assuming, we are building them, I should say, to perform optimally on the hosting platform that we use. Not all hosting platforms are created equal. If you build a website and then go to figure out hosting, well, you haven't begun with the end in mind. There is going to be, so a host is like the plot of land on which you're going to build your building, okay? And so if you're a civil engineer, you know that you can't just put any kind of building on any kind of soil. You need to do the research here to understand what the earth is. Is it a marsh, or is it rock, or is it someplace in between? How malleable is this, and what's it going to be? And then you can say, here's how far we can dig for the underground parking, and here's what we can do, and to make it most stable and secure. And your website works the same way, all right? So you need to know where the end in mind and have that know, and at least have a partner that has a plan that says, here's where we're going to host it, and because we're going to host it there and have it do these things perform optimally there, we're going to build it in this way. SEO doesn't work. Pay-per-click doesn't work. This doesn't work. So we're not doing it anymore. SEO, these things aren't for everybody. We have lots of clients for whom the website is not a top-of-funnel leads generator. It is a mid-funnel. It's a closer. The real big-ticket professional services, like civil engineers, for example, might operate and might see it that way. But just because you tried a tactic and it didn't work, well, sometimes there's operator error. Sometimes there were some misunderstandings. I just this morning had a phone call with somebody who was trying to make tweaks to their pay-per-click advertisements, and they were looking at all the right metrics, and they had acquired quite an acumen from trying to self-manage it, But what I ended up telling them is we need to you understand, among other things, you need to understand who you are as a brand, as a company. You can tweak all this stuff on the periphery all you want, and it's not going to deliver the results that you want until you do the homework, the hard work, the core work to build your strong foundation. Okay, accepting limitations. You fit in this box. Okay, you are a healthcare industry, and so therefore you use this WordPress theme. You would not accept that in any other aspect of your business or your life. Don't accept it with your website. There may be budget concerns or time concerns that get employed or put upon you but out the outset, can the website do this? Yes, all right. Whatever it is that you can dream up, functionality, design-wise, it can do it. The question that we will ask and the conversation is, should it, right, based on your goals and your constraints, your budget, your timing, all that kind of stuff, right? And what you need this website to do, is this the right thing to be spending budget and time on? But there should be no limitations. You do not fit in the box. So if somebody says, well, no, you can't do that because the theme didn't do that, it's the theme's problem, not your problem, okay? Well, the plugin doesn't do that. It's not that doesn't matter, okay, because there's a way to get it done, okay? These are just decisions that have to be made. Don't accept any limitations. And the answer is, can it do this? Yes, it can do that. Should it? No strategic plan. We go into the website without, but the website is approached without a full understanding about how it's going to go. When you work with Webolutions, you work with our project manager. We're celebrating her 12th anniversary today. Her name is Amy. She's awesome. You don't have to tell her I said that. She's and she works everything through an 83-point checklist that she has assigned. She creates a Gantt chart that is fully visible to you online. Here's what happens. Here's exactly the steps and who's going to take. This has to happen before this happens. The timeline is laid out. All the expectations are very clear, and there needs to be constant communication. I'll talk about more that. Rushing into design development. I kind of incorporated that into the last. We're always eager to see some results and rush into tactics. Do the homework before you take the test. Overburdening the website. Here's what I mean by that. I've talked to people who believe that the website needs to be able to host their videos. The website is where the database lives. Maybe that was the case once upon a time, but long gone are those days. The website becomes more affordable and it performs better and it's much more cost-effective to your bottom line. When we get to look at third-party tools, the database probably doesn't need to live in the website. It's probably much better off being in a CRM and marketing automation system that integrates with your website, for example. Your videos. How about a paid Vimeo account, perhaps, that serves up videos that you can control and influence, and your website just has a little video to them, and now you're optimized on 2 channels for it. It's a number of things. So the integration of third-party tools and a lot of web design, web development agencies don't promote this because it makes them nervous. If you've got the right amount of experience and expertise and strength and acumen, there aren't any concerns like that. Absence of training. We work primarily in a platform called WordPress. Jack and I went into detail about this on our most recent webinar about different website platforms and how they stack up against each other. There will be a link to our past webinars in the email following this live broadcast. So for all of you attending, and what I hear sometimes is, well, WordPress isn't easy to use. Well, WordPress is easy to use. That's how it became the big part of why it became the most popular platform by far on the internet. More than a third of all websites are powered by WordPress now. And what's happened is a website company built your website, said, here you go, and they didn't show you how to use it. So there should be a training budget included with any website project. With any website project, you should know how to use your website, and a user's guide should come with that as well. All the companies are the same. Website company is an IT company. We have excellent referral relationships with IT and managed services and even cybersecurity companies because people think the website is good. Some people think the website's a computer thing. It comes with the computer. You're a computer company, so you do websites. Well, no, we need to refer you to Webolutions. And an SEO company. One of the things I like about working for this company is, I'll put it this way, if you go to an SEO company and you ask them, do I need SEO? The question you're asking is, do you need to buy groceries this month, right? Do you need to pay rent? They only have one answer, right? And what we'll do is we'll look, we have other ways we can work with you. We will look at the data, we will crunch the data, we will bring data-driven recommendations as to whether and to what degree SEO needs to be a part of your plan, or where the positive return on investment is available, and how we get there. What the path is to it. PR companies, SEO companies will say, hey, we build websites. Well, who does it? Ask this question. Who in your organization is expert at this? Show me your systems, all right, and connect me with the people with whom I'm going to be working to build my website. These are different areas of expertise. I consider myself a marketing expert, right? T-shirt designs, or an example of something that might happen in marketing, but I don't know how to design a T-shirt. So there are different kind of specialties, okay, within all of these things. If you're looking for a website company, get somebody who's got experience and systems in websites, all right, in marketing, and understand where they go and how they help your bottom line. Making decisions without expert counsel. Look, I know you have an idea, many of you, about how you want your website to go. And I know that you feel like you might be qualified to do this because you have seen lots and lots of websites. And you might know exactly what you hate about your current website and what you need to be different on any website that you ever build. And I want to put it to you this way. I've watched millions of hours of television, and I have spent thousands and thousands of dollars and thousands of hours in restaurants. But I couldn't produce, I don't know how to produce an award-winning TV series that's going to get renewed year after year. I don't know how to run a restaurant. I've got a career background that shows definitively that I don't know how to do that. So there's a big difference between thinking you know and working with a partner who actually does this all day, every day, in some cases for as long as the industry has been in existence. Website goals, overall business goals. A professional partner, professional business partner should always, anytime you say, hey, should we do this, or here's what we want to do, should always link anything that we do back to your bottom line. How are we going to actually influence and support the goals that you are trying to achieve for your business at large? It should not be about making a website. It should be about achieving your goals, however they are. Treating your partner like this is a mistake that I see, but I'm going to go into it here and a little bit later and give an example, not an example, but talk to it a little bit more. A good deal. How many revisions do we get? You don't want a number of revisions. You want a system that enables you to have a minimal number of revisions. Revisions come from my opinion versus your opinion. And if we're having that conversation, we're doing it all wrong. Hey, my designer likes this design. Do you like this design? So if you like the design and my designer likes the design and the people who are supposed to buy from you don't like the design, the website is ineffective, all right? So we need to, and so good websites are built based on data that we know, that we have worked together to define, to clearly define about what we call those target personas. That is the information architecture source. That is the user experience for whom the website is designed. And if you do that work on the upfront, then you should only have minimal number of revisions, and those revisions shouldn't be wholesale. They should be little adjustments within the time frame, okay? Undervaluing experience, I think I've spoken about enough. And values and communications. We are a values-driven company. We have a list of values that are on the wall, and when people ask me what to expect in working with Webolutions, I hold up those values and I say, in everything we do, you should expect us to adhere to and live these values, all right? If you're looking for a partner, and that's how your business is going to grow, is through partnerships, relationships. You want someone who aligns with your values. Everything is not going to go perfectly in the relationship, in your life, in your business. We are going to have to work through some things together, and we can do that most effectively if we share values and we can communicate openly and honest and respectfully with each other, and in a timely fashion. Availability goes into that. Oh, okay, we've got some questions coming in. I'm going to leave that slide up there, and don't worry about our friend over here, okay? I mean, this is, when you're encountering all this stuff, this is the mood that you have. We're going to bail him out, okay? We're going to take him through a little journey And don't worry, by the end of this, we'll have him supremely confident in what he's doing. Our first question, and thank you for it. How long should it take before we should expect our website to generate positive returns? Okay, usually that's an SEO question. And I think where that comes from is somebody said, oh, we're going to do SEO, but you should expect any results for 6 to 8, 12 weeks or whatever, and sometimes that's legitimate, and that's a whole other discussion. So there's one answer. That's going to depend on the competition rate and a number of other things within your market. We've got websites that produce results immediately, all right, but depending on how you decide to provide results. I had a client, one of our best clients now, first came to us and said, we're going to these trade shows and nothing has happened. We're spending $20,000 a year to show up at these trade shows and thousands of man hours to show up here, and we're having good conversations, and then nothing happens, right? All the leads dry up. And I pulled up the website on a mobile phone. I showed it to him, and I said, is this the website? And it literally had not been updated since the mid-1990s. Well, there was no such thing as a smartphone in the 1990s. What was happening, by and large, I hypothesized, and was proven correct by the data, that people were speaking to them, getting a good impression of the trade show, and then as they walked away, they pulled up the website on the phone and said, well, they're referring themselves as technology experts, and with this website, I don't buy it. So simply by launching an updated website that was conforming, that was mobile-friendly, and showcased best practices in design and user experience and information architecture, etc., they started, and now the trade shows are generating leads. And that's before we started any kind of outside of any digital campaign that we would have done. We built a website for a spectroscopy company, I'm saying the word wrong, but for a company that generated sales within 2 weeks. I'm sorry, generated 2 sales in the first week of its launch. This happened recently. Why? Because they built the relationships and they had people who wanted to work with them, but they couldn't do it because their website was hidden. It was terrible. They couldn't find it, right? All we did was build them a good website and launch it, and here came the sales. So this is available to you. So, the larger B2B firms, often the consultative sales firms, sometimes it's all that needs to produce some actual results, and those are results for which your website should take credit. I hope that helps. Next question. How do you think website invoicing should work? Okay, so I alluded a little bit to pricing earlier, and I will just say that all of ours is milestone based. I think one of the deals that comes up is that sometimes people want you to pay up front for your website. If that doesn't seem right, you shouldn't do it. It probably doesn't seem very right. I get nervous. My dry cleaner, the guy who's been cleaning my shirts and my jackets for 10 years, asked me to prepay. And I said, why do you need me to do that? Instinctively, I just shot back, why do I need to prepay? I wasn't real comfortable with it. And then immediately, this guy's been working with me for 15 years. He's never asked me to prepay before. I don't know what he's dealing with, so maybe it's a cash flow issue, and I just apologized. I gave him $26 or whatever. And you know what? A week later, when I'm going to get my stuff, the first thing they said was, this is prepaid. So now I'm totally comfortable doing that. But your website's not $26. It's going to be a bit more investment than that. And I will tell you that our pricing is milestone-based, my answer to how I think it ought to be. We got to pay our people, so we'll take a deposit, make sure you got some skin in the game. There will be a milestone. Sometimes that's 2 or 3 milestones. The approval of page designs, the approval of functionality, the actual launch. Bing, bing, bing. When this happens and you sign off and you approve, we invoice. And so that's how that should go. I'll take one more question. I think I have time for that. Can I just fix my current website? Great question. And I know that it seems like you have a website and you got some, usually this happens with functionality issues, right? Or there's some stuff that's happening there. Can we just go in there and clean it up? Because when I take my car to the mechanic, they can clean it up and get it running like new. Well, your website's full of code. Unless you are working with the original developer, who is probably going to have a hard time with this anyway, the hardest thing for a developer to do and succeed is go into a website that's full of all this code and find the mistakes and fix the mistakes without screwing up something else on the website. It is generally not possible, all right, to find all of the rabbit holes and the daisy chains and so forth that are built into that code. And by the time that developer spends half its time to be half as effective, you could have been halfway down the road to a new website, which just left all those problems behind and started fresh. And so at 99.9% of the time, you're much better off just starting from scratch. I know that's not anybody's favorite thing to hear, but it's less burdensome and more just better for you on the end. Thank you for those questions. We're getting some more in. And I'll address those after this section. Beware of these practices. My per-page website pricing. I got this many pages. Well, I don't know if you know how many pages you ought to have. And per-page website pricing is done for a number of reasons. One, at the beginning of this industry, there was no good pricing model, and that was one. Another reason it happens is because one of the line items in your website that we'll talk about, in your website pricing, is content population. You can develop content, somebody's got to put it on the site. It's fastest and best if your website partner does it. But sometimes it's a budget decision, and if we're going to train you on how to do it, then you ought to be able to populate the content on your website, right? And we're going to give you a user's guide for permanent reference, and you could do this. It is not optimal. It almost always delays the launch of the website. And it's a more gritty experience for you, the client, but it's peripheral. And I think one of the reasons that lead with it is because it can be a very high margin item for line item for agencies. We discount. It's the lowest price service that we offer. So I'm not a fan of per page website pricing. The work is actually done in the design of the page templates, in the development of the functionality, and so that's a peripheral concern. Long-term commitments, you don't have to do it. All right, there's no need for you to sign a long-term commitment with a company. If somebody wants 6 months or a year, there are questions that if I were you, I would be asking. We ought to be in the position as your partner of continually earning your trust and your business. Pay all up front. There, I already spoke to that. If I ask you to show me 3 websites that you like, what I'm setting you up for is when you get your website, it's probably going to look like one of those websites because you told me you liked it already. Okay, so we can talk about other websites, right? You can be inspired by other websites, and we want to incorporate that into the conversation, the collaboration that we have with you. And we certainly want to look at competitors and the marketplace and how they are presenting themselves. But we're not doing that for the reason of copying their design. Your design, just like you, should be original. Would you like fries with that? Hey, if we're going to build your website, how about this over here, right? And that's really only okay if it is based on an understanding of how you make money, all right, on how you better engage your audience, on how you support your community, whatever your goals are for that website, right? That kind of upsell is okay, but only if it's custom to you, and not because, hey, you know, we sold this. Your website experience, I'm hoping, should be very different than that. This is my favorite, we own the template. Watch out for this, all right? And particularly if you are operating WordPress, we talked about this in our last webinar. This is pretty common within WordPress where you might have, you skip the upfront cost and you pay pretty good monthly amount. And when you decide, hey, we want to take our files, our website, all the internet is a big file directory. Your website is a collection of files. And so your pages are files. The pictures on them are files. And you say to your website company who set you up with that structure that we want to take our files and move them to a different host or give them to a different website company, and they say, hey, we own the template. What that means is you don't own those files. In your agreement, what you said is they own your files. You might be able to go get the content that is on those files, but you're not leaving with those pages. So watch out for that in your agreements. If you've got an agreement like that and you're trying to get out of it, well, I'm not an attorney, but I'm more than happy to talk to you and give you some options based on my experience. Tell me what you want, and we'll do it. That's an order taker, and if you're looking for somebody just to follow your instructions and do it, then go get that. That'll be cheaper, and you can pay a lot for cheap, okay? And the expectations that you have for the results should correspond to that decision. What you want, I believe, in a partner is someone who is leading you, making recommendations based on data, based on how they know you. Everybody needs this. Had a conversation. I mentioned our IT and managed services referral partners. I had a conversation with one just earlier this week, and he said the reason that he exclusively, he's got other clients who do what we do, but the reason he brings his referrals to us exclusively anymore is because he found when he referred them to the PR company or to the SEO company or whatever, they had the same solution for everybody, and it was a package deal. Oh, you got to have social media, and you got to post in this many times per day, or you're not. But that's not going to be the case for everybody. I mean, if you're a restaurant, people think about food 3 times a day, and maybe you do need to post more frequently. But if you're a civil engineering company, how often are your prospects, your clients, going to go check out what's on your Facebook page? I mean, really now, how important is that? And we're not saying to abandon it, but to prioritize it appropriately within the limited bandwidth that you have. Minimal collaboration with you. Yep, we're going to go back into our lab and we're going to make your website, and here's your website. You should be very much a part of the website creation process. It should be very interactive. You should be presented with recommendations. There should be conversations that challenge your assumptions, and that's how effective anything, including a website, gets made. Who owns the data with its keyword research? If it is analytics, is it your analytics account? It really ought to be your analytics account. Let's say that you decide to make a change in the vendor, in your partner, and you learn, and your new partner says, hey, we want to get a hold of your Google Analytics. One thing that we'll always do is we want to look at the baseline and the behavior of your current website. We want to do that before we advise on any kind of an information flow on your current website, because maybe there is an information flow on your website that works, and we don't want to throw that out with the bathwater. Also, we'll be able to look at that and say where things are getting in the way, and we'll be able to better advise on that based on user data. But whose data is it? Is it your account? Do you have control over it, and who has access to it? A lack of transparency the more questions you ask, the more detail you want, the more forthcoming your partner should be able to be. And I've kind of had to take a different approach on this. At first, I was giving all the numbers out because we're prepared to do that. But a lot of people, it's just too much information. You can't process that. So now I let you ask, and then I give it to you. But there shouldn't be any secrets behind it. You're in business. We're in business. Everybody understands what we're trying to do here and how things have to work. Discounting the info from your current website. That's what I mean by looking at the baseline of behavior. If a company is not asking you for this and not trying to look at your current website analytics to get a baseline of data and information about your current user experience, they're skipping a very important step. Don't let them do it. If they can't articulate their approach and systems, here's what's going to happen. You should expect this. We have this end goal in mind. We're going to back you out and tell you exactly how we get there. Here's our systems. Here's our programs. Here's who you're going to work with. If they can't tell you all of this stuff, you should be very suspicious. And that is or anything. There really is a biological link between your gut and your brain. And if your gut is telling you it's wrong, it's probably wrong. All right, trust that. And then back to values and communications. That's not to say that you can't work through it with your partner, but you have to feel like you can bring this up and have this conversation. And then, after that conversation, if you're still not satisfied, well, you got a real red flag there. How do we resolve all of these things with our effective marketing hierarchy? You might also hear us refer to this as our big marketing method. This is the way we approach these things. This is a hierarchy. We look at it from the foundation and going up. We begin by understanding, and in some cases helping companies define what you stand for in the world. Our purpose is to empower passionate people to thrive. Our values are on the wall. What are yours? All right, because that is going to be a differentiator in the way you communicate, the way you go to market, and it's going to be a differentiator in your messaging. It will help set you apart. If you are showing a product and you're saying, we're about this product, Well, other people can say we've got this product. If you say I'm a service and other people offer the service, well, people are going to make the decision on what? Price, right? And that is a race to the bottom. So it is critical to understand who you are and why you do, what your purpose is, what you stand for in the world. Upon that, we will make an effective position for you in the marketplace. Who's your target persona? What do they need from you? How do they arrive at your website? What's the burning question, the need that they have? What do they need to get from you? How do they identify themselves? How do they make, what's their decision-making process? What obstacles can you expect need to overcome in your communications with this person? And what is a unique selling proposition that only you can offer, something you can own in the marketplace that no one can ever take from you? That is the kind of stuff that effective messaging and effective websites are built on, right? Target persona development, we talk about a lot. Demographics and psychographics, we all fit to a demographic. None of us have ever made a purchase decision because we fit to that demographic. But it'll tell you my education level, the amount of money I grew up with, all that kind of stuff, framed by reaction to things like color and imagery. People are going to decide whether or not they like your website in 0.05 seconds or less. It happens subconsciously, and 61% of that decision is based on color and imagery alone. So it becomes very important to understand who we're talking to and what they need to see, and to present that to them, and to be, again, something unique in the marketplace. So we work with people on that. And identifying key measures. There are a lot of spreadsheets involved with work with Webolutions. We are, in fact, a business consultancy, is the way that it operates. And Responsible Partner does that. They're looking at bottom lines, they're looking at key performance indicators or KPIs, they're looking at ROI, and they're looking at yours and how it impacts you. And that's probably as far as I want to go. There's other parts of the tier, but our subject matter and our time today limit to those things. So I'm going to take some questions. Here before we move on. What kind of time we got there, Jack?
We're looking at a little after 12:30.
Okay, all right, we're okay. All right, here's a question. How often should we be posting and editing content to our website? This is another one of those things that usually comes from SEO, because content and SEO are so intertwined. Well, the short answer is you should be posting, editing content. You should be posting content on your website, new content on your website, and I'm believing you're talking about a blog post, whenever you have something valuable and on brand to add to the website, right? It's not really possible to have too much valuable content on your website. So the question is, what should we be posting about? And that is framed up by who your target personas are, what you care about them, your values align. If we can establish that, all those things, well, then we will be, and some messaging and communications standards, how we talk about ourselves. We'll go into a little more of that later. By a standard, we will be able to. We will have much more that we can talk with our community about, rather than, hey, we also sell this. Hey, would you please buy this? Hey, we have a new product. I hope that's helpful. And then from an SEO perspective, it depends on your competitive position and what you're trying to do. So there's no one-size-fits-all answer there. But happy to talk about that offline with you. How do websites get hacked? Mostly, great question. This is a WordPress question. WordPress is the most attacked platform out there, because it is the most popular by far. It is the most used, so of course it's the biggest target. And the biggest way anymore that people, that hackers get into your website and screw things up is through an outdated plugin. So WordPress is software. The platform is software. And there are these things that make it go, all right? One of the things that makes WordPress so cost-effective, faster to produce, and more scalable and malleable is the existence of these things called plugins. Well, the plugins are functionality. It's what makes the website go. These are video embeds, web forms that people fill out and click submit, the ability to upload and download PDFs, that kind of thing. That's functionality, examples within your website, and it is plugins that enable that functionality. So WordPress is software. The plugin is also software. And just like any kind of software, it needs to be updated every once in a while. There are hackers, and their job, which they work on 24/7, is how to get past that code, all right, how to break those rules. And what they need is a hole in the wall, all right? They need an in. When you don't update your plugin software, that's their end. They can get in through the code, they can get in through the plugin software. And so I mentioned earlier our hosting system. It's part of what we call our monthly website support services. Our technical systems manager, who manages our hosting platform, also goes in on a regular basis and checks the software and makes sure that the plugin software is updated to work with the new WordPress software and keeps all that updated. And so that's the main purpose the website gets hacked and how we prevent all of that from happening. Okay. We have multiple websites because we do business in multiple cities. Good. Should we combine it all into one website, and how would you do this? That's an involved question, and there's more than one solution. It kind of depends on there are lots of options to do that. From an SEO, search engine optimization perspective, it's usually best to have that within a single website. You might use pointer domains as marketing collateral, but you probably send them all within one website. And it really depends on what your brand is, what your messaging is. Yeah, there are a number of ways to come at that. At its core, one thing that needs to be considered is that if you have multiple websites, you have to manage multiple websites on an ongoing basis. So one of the benefits toward combining everything into a single robust website is that you've got one website to manage and to update software and to do hosting on and maintain your secure socket layer SSL certificate on and so forth and so on. And so it really kind of consolidates that and is usually and almost always more operationally efficient to work at solutions, but there's a lot of ways to come do that. We have time for this. There's a question about ADA compliance. I keep hearing about website ADA compliance. That is the Americans with Disabilities Act compliance. I'll talk to it. What is that, and should I worry about it? I'm not an attorney. No one here at Webolutions is. All these people have at least 10 years doing what they're doing. Any dedicated expert that you work with at Webolutions is, in fact, bona fide expert in their field. So, but none of us are attorneys. Let me just say this. ADA compliance, you're starting to hear about it. We anticipate it's been news within the industry for a while. It's probably going to hit the larger zeitgeist in 2020. Here's what's happening. The Americans with Disabilities Act established the Internet as a public utility. It is like water. It is like roads. Your website needs to be accessible for people with different abilities. I hope I'm saying that correctly. In the same way that your brick and mortar business needs to be accessible for people who are in wheelchairs. Okay, the blind use the Internet. They use tools to help them see it. If you put a picture on your website, you are signaling that you think this is content that is valuable, and you are probably correct about that. Well, a blind person can't see that. So to be ADA compliant, you have to provide a description, which their software program can read to them and say, this is what this picture is of. And your website, most websites are probably outside of ADA compliance. If you want to be within the letter of the law, yes, your website should be ADA compliant. We are what's called a site improve partner here at Webolutions. We partner with a company called Site Improve, which is software. It gets installed on your site. It runs an audit. It says, here's where you're not into compliance, and it tells you exactly what needs to be done to bring your website within compliance. It's not a one-time deal. You're going to depending on how much, back to an earlier question actually, how often you are changing content, how often you are adding content on your website. Every time you do that, you alter the degree of compliance. And so on a quarterly basis or a semi-annual basis or an annual basis, depending on a number of things, you're going to want to run an audit, run a report. Using the software, the code that's already installed on your website, run the report, get the report, correct the errors. Why do you care? Why is this suddenly coming up? Because last year, there are a few legal firms who are very good at what they do that figured out that there were a lot of websites that were not within ADA compliance, and they started working their way East Coast to West Coast in the financial services industry, in the healthcare industry, and in the hospitality industries from big money on down. There's a whole matrix where lawsuits are being filed, and they're being rather successful in prosecuting these claims. Again, I'm not an attorney, but if you're a small fish You need to be aware of this, okay? And it is something that can be retrofit into your website after launch. It's available to you, all right? But how big a target are you? You probably have a good idea about that already. So, and more than happy to discuss that at further length offline. I hope that was helpful. But it's a good question because it is a thing that's coming up. Let's turn this thing around. Our guy who was all stressed out and late at night sitting there alone in the office going, oh my goodness, what have I done with my website experience? Let's turn him into a marketing superhero. All right, now what is effective website creation? We always prefer to talk about things in the positive here at Webolutions. Effective websites have effective messaging, all right? And I talked about purpose and values. I promise, if only if you define these things, only if you define your purpose and values and put yourself on a mission, a quantifiable mission that you can achieve, and incorporate all that into your marketing plan and into your messaging, will your website be effective? Your website and or any of your other marketing efforts. Clearly define your target personas. I talked about this. You got to understand who you're marketing to and how they arrive at your site. One of the testimonials that I excerpted from earlier was about the process about presenting the content to the website visitor in the way that the website visitor wants it to be communicated, which is 100% more effective than me pushing information at you because I think you need to know this and this is how I see it. So you got to reverse, there's a lot of mindset change that goes there. You have to reverse engineer how you approach these things. Messaging and communications standards, clear and consistent across all touch points. The way you answer the phone, the way you greet someone when they walk into your office, the way you conduct a sales meeting, the voice and the tone in your social media, the vocabulary that you use. Do we call our people reps? Are they consultants? Are they agents? Whatever they are, they need to be one thing across the board. Do we speak in first person and third, or do we say we help you? Our imagery standards, do we have specific images, or can we just set rules within which, when we're choosing a picture for a blog post perhaps, that it conforms to these standards? We've clicked at these emotions, we want to convey these, we want to act with these attributes, we want people to associate, see these attributes in our brand, and we communicate in this fashion. We use these words, we don't use those words. Communication standards, that's a high level, quickie run through for how we do this. Effective positioning, I talked about this a little bit. That's something we can own, our place in the marketplace. Are we a product? Are we a service? Are we a commodity? Or are we an experience? Do we provide something that transforms the way your business operates? And do we show that, by the way? It's another conversation I had just earlier this week. When I look at your, maybe the reason that your conversions aren't as high as you'd like, Mr. Prospect, is because when I go here, I see product. I see product. And you've told me that you have bigger competitors who offer the same product. Why would I bother, right? And get it cheaper from them. But if there's something that's a value that I see that aligns with my values, somebody that I can work with, and somebody who can show me in imagery and in messaging the transformation that's available to me when I make you part of my life, your conversion rates will go up. And your marketing effect will be that much more, and the relationships that you foster with it will be much more sticky and as you move forward. All right, keyword and competitive analysis. Evidence keyword research, we take it a little step further. We juxtapose it against your business acumen. It's the only way I believe it should be done, for whatever that's worth. All right. It is one thing to be able to score for a search term. That's great. So you're on page one. So your position there gets you clicks. Okay. Now we're clicking through to a website. Well, all right. Then it's another thing to have the website speak to me and meet me where I am and understand me as a person, as one of your target personas, and maybe that's constructed well, and maybe I convert. Now, am I the person that you want to talk to, right? Am I a quality prospect? Are you going to be right side up and from a cost of sale perspective with me? And so those are some of the conversations that we have with people. The digital data that we've uncovered versus their business acumen. Well, this is higher margin. Well, this is a retention machine. Whatever, right? Should be incorporated into your website strategy, into your marketing strategy, and brand identity. Really easily defined statements and short statements about your product or service, your market offering, and the experience that your customers, your employees, that your partner should have with you. What is that? There is a brand, the emotions that people that we want to convey, and we want people to associate with our brands. That's your identity, all right, your brand identity. And then there are visual components of the identity and so forth. But effective positioning goes into effective website creation. Notice we haven't started designing a website yet. We're still doing our homework. We're still laying the foundation. Measurement. How are we going to measure this? Tied to your business plan, your strategic plan is what's hiding back there under our marketing superhero. If you've got a strategic plan, your website partner, your marketing partner should ask to see it, all right? And you should feel like you can trust them with that information. Again, it needs to be tied back. Any goals that have your marketing need to be tied back to what goals the business needs to achieve, all right? And what are those? Well, then we'll outline what key performance indicators, KPI, are. Our practice is to create a dashboard. Any more of these are dynamically demonstrated, but we'd like to have at a glance, month over month, year over year, how things performed, and what are those key performance indicators. Cost per conversion, cost per sale are very common, and some leading data that go into it, but they're not going to be the same for everybody. What are they for you? Let's know what those are. And maybe we can even construct an engine, a marketing and sales engine that takes us to, within the funnel, the point within the conversion process that's most important on which to focus. If we're getting lots of impressions and we're getting lots of clicks, but we're not converting, well, let's look at that landing page. All right, for starters, let's see if we need to do some A/B testing or of calls to actions or multivariate testing on the landing pages or something else. All right, because that's our target. What's going to bring the most impact the most quickly? Annual budgeting. The first year your website is going to be the most. Everything is going to be the most. But let's you need to think forward. Your website partner should advise you about how long you should expect this website to last you until it goes. In 3 to 5 years, depending on a number of things, is a good idea. But from an annual budgeting perspective, let's look forward to that and make sure that that we're looking forward and being realistic with ourselves and planning accordingly. And profitability and ROI calculations, and I talked about that quite a bit, so I won't just keep harping on it. But again, it needs to be you're making an investment. You should expect a return. Your marketing partner should be able to help you ascertain and put you on programs that make sense, reverse engineering all this stuff, to get you to those points that help you realize those achievements. Effective engagement. Reverse engineer. We use that term a lot around here, and because we believe in it. Your information architecture, which is the way the information stacks up on the site. This page, then this page, then this page. What is in the top, the main navigation? What's in the utility navigation? Is there submenus? Are there file directories? All this kind of stuff goes into planning, and it's based on, again, that persona development. And often there's an SEO, a search engine optimization component to it if you're doing it right. And if search engine optimization is one of those investments that makes sense to advise you to do. Your user experience, I've talked about that. Again, it's not your user experience, it's not ours. It's your prospective visitors. It needs to be catered to them. Reverse engineering your SEO, I think I talked about that. So, but if you talk to a book smart agency, they might tell you don't have to bother with keyword optimizing your URLs. You talk to a street smart agency, they'll tell you that they say you should. We'll tell you that you should, in most cases. Establish your brand platform, messaging communication standards. I talked about what that is. You're going to put messaging on the website. You're going to put images on the website. They should be built upon standards, as should all of those other channels. And it should be clear and consistent across those channels. So you establish your brand platform and your messaging communications first. You build the website on top of that. Your content strategy, usually part of your brand platform. And what are we going to talk about? And again, that is reverse engineered against the needs and of your personas, the values that your company has established, your position in the marketplace, and your goals. Is where your content strategy comes from. And then it may be on your website, on your blog, in your social media, et cetera, in your email, in your marketing automations, in your sales follow-ups, through your CRM, et cetera, et cetera. So, and where does it go? How deep does it need to go? Who's responsible for it? When does it need, do we have monthly themes? Is it driven by a content calendar? We've worked with our clients on all of these things. Understanding your audience, and then invite, don't tell. Here's what I mean by that. Everybody wants to tell their story, and I get it. I freely admit that I'm a guy sitting here telling a story. What I want you to think about in terms of is inviting people into the story that you're creating together. That is a lot more impactful. It's a lot more emotionally rewarding. And if you think about how you'd like to be treated, you'd sure like to prefer to be invited than to be told. So if I can ask you to just take a moment to consider that mindset. Now, let's make a website, huh? I mean, you got now the effective systems. You've got a market positioning and brand platform. We've done some ROI-focused planning. Now we understand how your business model works. We understand how your target persona arrives at the site, how they need to consume information, what their decision-making process is going to be, and we can construct a user experience and a conversion funnel on the website to guide them there. Our content strategist is often very involved in influencing that with you. Direct and indirect calls to action. I mention this because it's very important. 80 or 90% of the people who arrive at your website are not ready to make a purchase decision now, or they haven't gotten up the gumption or the conviction to talk to a salesperson, right? So, what they might be interested in keeping in touch with you and watching what you do and getting a better feel for who you are and how you approach things. And so you offer indirect calls to action. Request a demo, download our white paper, and that's in exchange for an email address, perhaps. And that gives you the opportunity to stay in touch and nurture that relationship for, again, the vast majority of people who arrive to your website in a consideration phase, not in a buy now phase of the process of the buyer's journey. I hope that's clear. Functionality. We have an approach to functionality. We have what we call an enhanced WordPress platform, which includes some basic functionality. It's a lot of that stuff that I mentioned earlier. We said everybody is going to need this stuff to build a website, so we're putting that in every website that we ever build. And then there are key custom functionalities, which are driven by industry, which are driven by client, a custom post type. We showed a highlight there of an example there of a screenshot from our client from Potatoes USA. They have a recipes database on their website. That's full of schema and lots of great data and lots of great functionality, but we custom built it for them. What was our process? Did we go get a plugin and plug it in? Well, overdependence on plugins can get you in trouble. And the out-of-the-box version of the plugin hardly is ever good enough, right? It needs to be stylized, almost always needs to be stylized and customized in order to meet your user experience goals and be effective. When it doesn't, that's where revisions and disappointment and delays and so forth come in. So you figure that out in the upfront. You do third-party systems testing. You come to your client and say, here's all the ways we can, here's a few ways that we recommend considering, and if it were ours, we would do it this way. That's how a partner works, and functionality is a big piece of that. And it's a big piece of it because custom functionality usually ends up being a significant percentage of your website budget. The more cost-effective you can be with that on the upfront, the better. And the last thing you want to do is build custom functionality, put it in the website, and say, oh, that's not what we wanted. That didn't work like we wanted to. It didn't look like we wanted it to. So you do that on the upfront. Must-have now versus can-do later. While it's always best to build everything into the website on the upfront, you don't always have to. There's lots of stuff that can be retrofit. It's better if you know that it's coming, but sometimes you say, boy, we really want this, but it's not a must-have, it's a nice-to-have, and it doesn't fit the budget here, so we can do that in a subsequent budgeting period. And I'm running out of time, and based upon priorities and results. Really quickly, Our effective systems, you want a comprehensive approach. We always inventory your current website, establish what your current information architecture is. We want to review those analytics. I talked about that. Your IA, all this stuff that I talked about that we do, that's where all that is. And redirects, okay? You ever get a 404 error? That's because somebody didn't do a redirect. Having your web pages are all indexed like a word in the back of a textbook. And when Google says, okay, I'm looking for that word, I don't find it, that's where you get the 404 error, all right, to give you an idea of what that is. And so you must redirect your old website pages to a new page, to a new set of pages. We put you develop a plan, you approve the plan, we implement the plan at launch, and I talked about third-party systems integration with in terms of functionality with your CRM system, your marketing automation system, your email system. You may have a booking system for appointments or something that needs to be integrated with the website. Don't ever lose sight of that. Finally, project management. Your project manager is key to your experience. Don't discount that. Finally, your effective website creates, I warned you 10 pounds of stuff in a 5-pound bag. Sorry, guys, I'm going over. Page designs, content, all these things are items that you should see in your website plan. If you don't see these itemized, you need to ask some questions. Where are they? How does this get done? How does this get resolved? What help do you offer in terms of this? We offer a free website analysis. We're obviously getting to the close here. Give us a call, send us an email, let us know if this is of interest to you. It's our pleasure to do so. And join us again next month for delighting and engaging your audience. We're going to have the thing. Now we've built this awesome website. Now, how do we bring people to it and make them love the fact that they are doing business with us, current, prospective, or otherwise. My name is Mike Hanbury, Director of Business Development here at Webolutions. My colleague Jack Schneider and I thank you for joining us, sticking around for a few extra minutes. We will follow shortly with an email. Thank you for joining us. Come back next month. Thanks so much.